Peace. Today I just wanted to build about the 17th degree in the 1 to 40s. It says, what is the meaning of civilization? I know a lot of you have had experiences where you might have been to like born day celebrations, graduation celebrations, may have been celebrations because someone's retiring. You've been to maybe funerals, wedding receptions or divine union receptions, memorials, all of those different events. The thing that all of these different events have in common is that there's always a time where people get a chance to speak on what this person or what these people or what their accomplishments mean to them in their life. You know, how it's significant and how it's important. If you had a graduation celebration, you know, somebody may get up and say, you know, I've known you since you were little. You know, you've gone through a lot of different things, and to see you here today to accomplish this goal is very important. It's inspirational to other people that's in your age bracket that may not be doing things like that. You know, somebody may speak on that, you know. Somebody may go to a retirement party, and they may get up and say, you know, I've known Charlie for 20 years. You know, Charlie's been on his job, and I've never known Charlie to ever call out sick. You know, he's always been dedicated. He's always been on time. You know, he's always given all that he has to the company. You know, we appreciate him. You know, may have somebody talking like that. If it's like a memorial or a funeral or something like that, you may have somebody that gets up and they talk about the accomplishments that the person made, the legacy that they left behind, and how it's important for us to carry on that legacy. And, you know, they talk about how important and how significant their accomplishments were to their life and how it has positively impacted them. Now, when we're talking about the 17th degree, which says, what is the meaning of civilization? Figuratively speaking, look at civilization as also an event. You could even look at it as a person. So in this sense, when you're asked what is the meaning of civilization, you're asked what is the significance, what is the importance, and what does civilization actually mean to you? Now, just like I gave you the example of people who are at different graduation parties, retirement parties, memorials, different things like that, in order for a person to get up and actually speak on it, they had to have some kind of relationship to this person, to these people, and to the accomplishments that they made in their life. It's the same thing with civilization. You know, there's something that you have to have in order to even speak on that with some kind of authority, with some type of sincerity and some type of commitment to how it is important and how it is significant to you in your life. The answer to that lesson says, one, having knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, refinement, and is not a savage in pursuit of happiness. So it's the same exact way with civilization. In order for us to speak on how significant and how important civilization is to us, we have to have a relationship with knowledge. You know, when I say having a relationship with knowledge, you know, people may check out my videos and sometimes they may think, well, dang, where does he get all of this? I put in work. You know, there's times where I looked at a $45 pair of sneakers and then looked at a $45 book and said, you know what? I don't really need sneakers right now. I'm going to go ahead and just get this book. You know, there's been times I've spent hours in the library and I see this old dusty book in the back somewhere in one of these shelves, and I look in the back and it ain't been taken out in 13 years. But there's something important or a jewel that I got out of that book. But if I didn't put in the work and the effort and the time and the patience to even find that, I wouldn't have that information. So you have to have a relationship, and that has to be important to you. Knowledge. Same thing with wisdom. Wisdom don't come overnight. A lot of times you got to make a lot of foolish mistakes and see a lot of people make foolish mistakes before you even get wise to things. You know, so that also takes a lot of work. It takes patience. It may take finances too, because sometimes you may make decisions like I've made, where you end up in jail over something stupid. Stupid. You know, same thing with understanding. Understanding comes in time. You know, it takes a lot of patience and dedication for you to get an understanding about things. Same thing with learning about culture, refinement, and not being a savage in pursuit of happiness. So just like a person that's standing at a graduation ceremony and they're talking about how important it is for this person, you know, this accomplishment, what it means to them in their life, you have to be able to speak on civilization in the same exact way. You have to talk about knowledge and how knowledge has impacted your life in a positive way. How you become wiser. You know, the understanding that you've gained about yourself and about the world and the people that's around you. You know, what you've learned about culture. And how it has refined you or how it has improved your life. And the same thing about being a savage pursuit of happiness. You should be able to express how you were living at one level and it's helped raise you to a whole different degree of humanity. You know, where you're not out here doing this, that, and the third that you used to do anymore. So that lesson talks about a testimonial. It talks about the ability to speak on something that is significant and important to you in your life because you have a relationship with that. That's one of the main components of you being able to identify what civilization actually is, not only in your own life, but in other people who claim to have some sense of civilization. You know, another thing that I want to add on to as well is that civilization is spoken of in the degrees that are prior to us reaching this lesson, the 17th degree and the 1 to 40s. So, obviously, once we get to this point of reaching this 17th degree, we should have some sense of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, culture, refinement, not being a savage in pursuit of happiness. We should already have been developed in that type of area where we should have been able to speak on some of these things of what civilization means to us already. Because it's mentioned in the degrees prior to this one. The first time that it's mentioned is actually in the knowledge degree in the 1 to 10s in the student enrollment. It talks about the father of civilization. That's not what I really want to focus on, but once you get up into the 1 to 14s, the second lesson says, civilized means to teach knowledge and wisdom of or to all the human families of the planet Earth. So in that lesson, it's associating civilization with knowledge and wisdom. So keep that in mind. When you go to the culture degree, or the fourth lesson in 1 to 14s, it talks about how the root of civilization is in Arabia. Keep that in mind, Arabia, at the holy city of Mecca, which means when knowledge and wisdom of the original man started when the planet was first founded. So there again, civilization is associated with knowledge and wisdom. Not only has it been associated with knowledge and wisdom, but it's also been associated with Arabia. When you take out a map and look at the geographic location of Arabia, look at the way that it's shaped. Take out a physiological book or a book on physiology and look at the way that the human heart is shaped. Arabia and the human heart looks the same. So symbolically speaking, when it says that the root of civilization is in Arabia, one thing that it's saying is that the root of civilization is in your heart. You have to have it in your heart. To corroborate that, knowledge and wisdom, like I said, is associated with civilization. When you look at knowledge and wisdom, that's 1 and 2. You look at the 12th lesson or the 12th degree in the supreme alphabet, that's L, that's love. Love is in your heart. So essentially what it's telling you is that to talk about the meaning of civilization, you have to have it in your heart, and you have to have love for it. Not only with civilization, but with any of the components of civilization. You have to have love and for knowledge, and it has to be in your heart, which means you have to have a commitment and consideration for it and a respect for it. Same thing with wisdom, same thing with understanding, same thing with culture, same thing with refinement, and the same thing with not being a savage in the pursuit of happiness. You have to have all of that in your heart. You have to have a love for those things in order for you to even speak on that. The same way, if you were at a memorial and you're talking about the accomplishments that your grandmother made throughout her lifetime before she passed on at 96 years old, you had to have a love for your grandmother. You had to have had the accomplishments that she's made over her lifetime in your heart for you to even speak on that. If you didn't, you get up there and be speaking on that, and you would just look fake. You wouldn't know what to say. It wouldn't have no meaning to anybody that's listening to you, and it would not be significant to anybody that's in that room. It's the same thing with any kind of relationship that you have with a person. You can't know how important and how significant that person is to you if you are going into that relationship half-heartedly. If you really don't have a love for this person, you won't be able to know what they actually mean to you, or what they actually mean, or how they're significant in your life, and vice versa. I mean, even if you do that, I'm sure they're going to let you know about it. You know what I'm saying? So I say all of that to say, when we're looking at that knowledge God degree, what is the meaning of civilization? In order for you to speak on something that is meaningful, something that's significant, something that's important, you have to have a relationship with it, or with them, or with that actual event. You have to have a relationship. In order to have a relationship with them or with that event, you have to have put work in. Same thing like the example I gave you with knowledge or wisdom and things like that. You have to invest in that for you to even have the authority to speak on any of those things. And ultimately, you got to have a love for what you're doing. You got to have that in your heart. If you're going to school and you're striving to get a degree, you got to be able to love what you're doing, because there's going to be a lot of situations and times where you don't really want to study. You may feel like you're being overloaded with information or things like that, but what pushes you through is having a heart and the commitment and the drive to be able to accomplish that particular goal. It's the same thing with civilization. So when you see people and you hear people talking about civilization, all you got to do is just look at their life. You know, look at what they invest their time in. Are they really working, and do they really have knowledge in their heart? Do they really have wisdom in their heart? Do they really have love, period, in their heart? You know, so with that said, I wanted to say peace, and I'll add on later.